lock in on a homer, and they find the bad guys, and you get your little girl back. So, now, I'll tell you this. If you don't support and let people like us get into the commercial market of that I damn guarantee is going to happen. You will have a federal injunction that will come on that technology, and only the federal system will be able to use that. And if you don't have a commercial competitor out there the opposite the governmental side, you're wide open for Big Brother to go ahead and stamp you like a cow. Now I want to tell you something else. Well, it's such an irony. Do you know what law Hillary Clinton specializes in? Children. She is a child lawyer. She represents children's rights. She's a children's rights lawyer. Now let me ask you a simple question. Check this out. Call this 1-800 number for National Center for Missing and Abused Children. 50,000 kids disappear every 12 months in this country. That's 5 children per hour. Aren't y'all worried about that? Aren't you concerned? Don't you want to know where they're going? Well, you're not going to find out if you're sitting in here doing nothing. So somebody builds a system where we can find out where they're going. Now, we know that about 35-40% are stolen by the other parent. Okay, fine. Now you got 25,000 missing without a trace. It's been going on for 10 years. That's 250,000 kids gone. And adults as well. I want to know where they're going. I'm going to find out. And I'll do it with state rights. I'll do it with the state of Florida. So, I'm not going to wait for permission from the feds. Now, another thing about the missing children is that if you let that system go on, you'll find something else interesting. Not just America, but every country on the planet's got the same problem. And the numbers are just as big, even larger in third world countries. That's mind-boggling, y'all. It took us 14 years to kill 50,000 people in Vietnam. You lose that many in 24 months without a trace. That's insane. And you think you don't pay much attention, or you pay a lot of attention. Well, let me tell you about a little survey that a friend of mine, he's 8 years old, and he did a science project. He made a picture of himself, put it on his poster, hung it on the mall, and it said, "This child is so-and-so and came up missing," and then if you read down to the bottom, it goes, "I'm standing over here on the right. Come over and talk to me." He stood there with his little clipboard watching people, and out of every 100 people that came through the doors, only 3 would read the message. 3% would take time to look. Something wrong here, y'all. So, I'm just out to try and straighten some of this out with a technological system. It's kind of a neat karma to it. We build it for a military system, and we turn around and use it to save kids. Kind of neat, isn't it? It started in 91, but the original design, 1975. No. It was still locked up in the military system. It still hasn't gotten into all the commercial aircraft systems. It's just now starting. They've got, I don't know if you've been reading some articles, Time Magazine's transportation system that's been a little bit neglected in the FAA. So all of a sudden this technology became real handy. Now, that's the NavStar system. It'll affect all kinds of industries and stuff in your life. Now, I mentioned to you that it will change a consumer part, this grid will. How so? Well, imagine this. In the very near future, and old Bill Gates, and I agree with Bill on something, there's less than 10% of the system up for you to use. But when we cross over to this like 30-40% of this grid, you're going to have an interesting little bit of technology to fool with. You turn on your TV set, and in the rooms of your house, you have these funny looking little tripod looking things that will be in each corner. And you can have your house, when it's originally built, with a special reflective material. And what happens, you turn on television. Let's say you're watching Jurassic Park or another sequel. And all of a sudden, your entire house turns into a holographic jungle. So real, you believe you're standing there. Holodeck of Star Trek is what's happening in your house. You put these devices all over your house. Why would you want to do that? Well, let's say a velociraptor comes running through the room. It's chasing the main star in the movie. They run back to the back of the house. You get out of your chair and you run with them. Interactive television. That's going to be pretty neat. But y'all can see problems. Somebody's getting a drink in the kitchen, walk out, and a velociraptor's come running at them, and they drop dead of a heart attack. You know. So may have sometimes realism is too real. These are a type of products that will be coming. It'll be holographic, three-dimensional, virtual reality right in your living room throughout your house. That's just one little toy you can play with. Now, let's talk about space industrialization. And the reason we want to go out there is zero gravity and total vacuum. I'm going to just jump around this program a little bit because we got a tremendous amount of stuff to cover. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions about a lot of things. So the reason we want to go out in space and do this type of research is because of what we're going to learn and the things we've already learned. I'm going to, I'll back up to one here. That's a beam extender. We got to build a lot of big devices out there. So the beam extender is a thing that comes out of the cargo bay of the space shuttle, rolls out this sheet metal that looks like rolls of toilet paper. That's not what they are. And they pull the sheet metal off and flash weld it in place and move from a raw product to a finished product that looks like a telecommunication tower. Now this machine can do it at 5 feet a minute. That didn't impress you, huh? Okay. All right, let me give you an example then. Here's the Seattle Space Needle Tower in Seattle, Washington. That thing is 500 feet tall, weighs 8,660 tons, and it took 50 men working 6 months around the clock to build this tower. With that beam extender, we can build a tower 160 feet taller than this tower, but I don't need 50 men in 6 months. I can do it with 2 astronauts in 3 hours. Ooh, heavy metal. Okay, that got you. Why do you want to build something so big and so fast? Well, we have customers. And this customer right here needs this grid built. And let's see if you can guess the name of the customer. Its competitors are MCI, Sprint, and Skyline. Yeah, gee. Well, actually it's Ma Bell, AT&T. Let's say we have Columbia and Discovery working on this grid. And when they're through, this is Space Shuttle at the bottom. This grid will be 1/2 a mile across when we complete it, and we'll push it 22,300 miles out into a geostationary position orbit. What does geostationary mean? Well, first of all, we use big words in science that means very simple things, and we do that for job security. The satellite will actually turn the same speed the Earth turns, so it can focus 24 hours a day on one spot. In this case, it'll be the continent of North America. Once this grid turns to cell phone, then you're going to buy yourself an interesting-looking dial-face wristwatch, and you guessed it, that's your telephone now. Well, not a big jump. We went from your belt to your wrist, but there's more. That's also a 200 Pentium computer. It's also a GPS global tracking system. So we can find you if you're injured out there being a big bad hunter and you shoot yourself, I'm hurt out here. Find where you're laying within a few feet. Pretty handy. I will tell you from personal experiences, this thing can lock on you in your position and tell a precise time. And I can tell you that personally that can sometimes be really not good. But that's your problem. We're just building a system. You can figure that one out yourself. Now this is not what it looks like. You step on the foot and the lid opens. That's not a space trash can. Okay? That's a Hubble Telescope. And just recently, it was the next thing to a space trash can. So, NASA loves me, don't they? So, well, why is the Hubble Telescope so important to you? It's because of its technological capability. It can really tell us things that can rattle you a little bit. Well, how so? Well, this thing's optical powers are so powerful. Since it only has a 100-inch mirror lens, which is half the size of the largest ground-based telescopes in the world, But because it's outside this blue Earth atmosphere, it's like sliding a steamy shower door out of your eyes. And this thing now has approximately a 7-dimensional gain and 50 times the power of the largest ground-based telescopes on Earth. Well, why is that so important to you? Well, imagine this. One day you turn on the telescope and you got this thing that looks like National Enquirer on the Wall Street Journal, and it says contact with another world, because you could do a visual contact if they tell you, but that would pop your cornflakes surely when you're eating that, looking at the Wall Street Journal. Now, what's interesting about the telescope is some interesting little oddities. Guess where the command center of this telescope is? People think, well, NASA, they would think Washington, D.C., Houston, JPL. No. The control center of this telescope is in the center of Johns Hopkins Medical Center. Why is that? Because a private contractor runs this telescope. Don't get into the word game NASA wants. They say they're privatizing the space program. It's not what you want. You want commercializing the space program. Privatize means they get a private contractor in there, and you know what he's got as a clause? He does not have to show you what he sees for 6 months. You paid $1.5 billion for that thing, and it's 6 months before they even show you what it sees. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a little perturbed about that. So I'm ranting and raving to Congress about it to get that policy changed. So why is this so important? Well, first of all, let me tell you what it has shown us. Do you know there are now 150 billion known galaxies, thanks to the Hubble. There are 100 billion stars in each one of those galaxies. It's 100 billion times 150 billion. Each of those stars have solar systems, which have maybe 10 to 15 planets. And each of those planets, some of them may have 15 to 20 moons. Add all this up, and what number do you come up with? The same number that is the number of all the grains of the sands of the deserts and the oceans on the planet Earth. Now, let's do a little statistics. If you take 1/10 of 1/100th of 1/1,000,000th of 1% and say they're like this, guess how many planets you've got that looks like Earth? 100 million populated planets. Statistically, what do you think the odds are that somebody's out there? Jimmy the Greek wouldn't touch you with a 100-foot pole. So, the Hubble Telescope could one day turn its lenses on, and if they decide to tell us and be truthful, we might be staring at something like that. Another civilization on another planet. So, I will kind of go back and forth on all this. You might wonder what life was like for me as a child, since I learned to do all this stuff. A lot of you heard me on Art Bell, right? Oh, God, I see people grinning and laughing. Yeah, we know about that. So anyway, I've never met or talked to Art Bell in my life until night before last. I didn't know what to expect. I know that he had a big broadcasting band, but my God, we got phone calls from Australia. And I'm going, oi. So Art has a pretty good following, about 30 million. So I thought I'd be on there about 5 minutes. I was there from 10 in the evening until 3 in the morning. And in between commercials, I went, can I go home? Finally, I fell asleep, and Art, David. Yes. So if I sounded a little tired at the end,